How do you handle your quarterback's personality, and this, not just your quarterback's personality, but this new age of college football where it used to be very old school, right? No bulletin board material. Guys, we're going to focus on the game and the game at hand. Diego comes on our show earlier this summer and he says, hey, before we get started, I'm not going to give any bulletin board material to anybody. And then he walks away from that podcast and I'm thinking, that felt like the most bulletin board material you could ever give to people, but he continues to back it up with this play. How are you handling them in the media? Is it kind of like a Dana White UFC? Listen, you guys have freedom of speech for a reason. You go and run it the way you want to run it. Or are we reeling back at times, keeping the program in mind?
First of all, he set a record for bulletin board material. I think we made history in that interview. And it was interesting. I was traveling. I was going to see the Ravens for a day. And had a interview that morning in my office. I'm pretty, like, I stay pretty insulated from all of it. I'm not on social media or whatever. I kind of keep my head down and stay working. But the person I was speaking with mentioned that Diego had made a lot of, there was a lot of buzz about what he had said about Tennessee. And I said, okay, I didn't know anything about it. Well, he said something about running the state of Tennessee. Okay, well, we'll deal with that. I land in Baltimore, and there's a few other things that had come up. Okay, we'll deal with that. I spend the day there. I fly back to Nashville, land here. Then there's a few other things that, and so he and I had a meeting at like 5:30 in the morning the next day. And honest to God, I here's my thought on it. First of all, Diego has earned the right to speak for himself. And the world doesn't need like a watered down Diego Pavia. Like, the world doesn't need that. I mean, this guy has charisma, belief. I think too many people will whisper their beliefs, and like want to kind of walk kind of in the shadows and not actually say what they want and go after what they want. And he's a guy that does exactly that. And yet I think there's a balance here between being confident and having belief, and not also being disrespectful to our opponents. And that the bulletin board material stuff, I don't really care. I don't think that matters, but I do want this group to have a great respect for the teams we play against. And part of our respect is we're gonna absolutely do everything we can to win the game, and we're gonna try to bury the opponent. I mean, that's our attitude, that's our mentality. And we expect them to do the same in return. That's how we learn about ourselves, But we don't need to be disrespectful in the way we represent our program, represent ourselves, and so we had a really good conversation about that kind of stuff. And again, the other thing I'll say about Diego is he, like my kids, my kids look up to him. My kids go to school. I mean, living in Nashville, you're like the melting pot for every SEC team.
Yeah.
And when you're not having success, your kids take some shit for it. Diego Pavia, my kids can walk in with their chest out a little bit now. I mean, they can.
Hell yeah.
They can. Yeah. So I told him that in that meeting too. Like, dude, I don't want you to change who you are, man. I love who you are. Let's just be smart and let's understand the ramification of what we say, and let's always carry respect for our opposition. And the beautiful thing about Diego is that he is totally humble in his process, and he's a quiet connector in this building. He's so sincere and authentic, and he's curious, man. And he and I are more alike than we are, dislike. And I couldn't imagine a better person to be taking the snaps for this program at this moment.
Too, it's like if people that weren't aware, it's like, hey, Diego went on Bussin' With The Boys. It's like, oh shit.
Yeah, exactly. Because even our show is not like hey, we're gonna try to get clickbait type of stuff. Like, we give everybody like the freedom. Like, if they say something like, hey, I felt very uncomfortable about that, can we cut that? We're the first ones to go, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And after the episode, we're like, hey, Diego, like, you feel good about all that? And he's like, yeah. Like, if anything, I felt like I was pretty good about not giving bulletin board material. That's why I kind of just took a step back and I was like, all right. He's like, you seem kind of uptight. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just thinking about Clark Lee, but yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Coach, you're very much known for like culture and process. And what I want to ask is, how has a player like Diego challenged your perspective on personalities and dealing with players and athletes? Like, you know, they're Diego's become such a big name. It's like they're on Pat McAfee last week with Saban. He's like, there'd be a conversation, him doing the victory, the kneeling, and everything else. How has a player like Diego challenged you to, hey, this is a completely different player? Like, he's walking in with ski masks. Like, everybody's fired up about this dude. The way he kind of carries himself with that swagger, it's getting to a point to where people are having like, oh, I hate this kid. He seems arrogant. He seems cocky, yada, yada, yada. But a man with your background, a man like of culture and process, how has Diego challenged you to think differently with him specifically?
Um, yeah, I mean, certainly he's a different he's a different dude that way. I mean, I think part of my growth as a head coach, like when you're a position coach, you can pretty well you got 12 to 15 guys, and you can build a culture. You kind of recruit into your room, and I don't know that it's very natural, kind of the connection and the attitude, the mentality is all kind of there for you pretty naturally. As a coordinator, you got about 50 guys, and you're doing the same, but you're still recruiting to that room. It's your kind of personal touch on it. As a head coach, it's just totally different. And I think when I when I started, first of all, this place was it was so sick. We had so far to come, and we had to learn how to care about ourselves first. I mean, it was pretty bleak, and so I don't actually judge the way I approached the early parts of this, because I think I had to approach it that way. But also, I've learned a lot about control. Control's an illusion, and I think coaching's about impact. And my job is to ensure alignment, and also if I put everyone in a box, or if I expect everyone to take on, like, I want my personality to show up in how we play. Like, that's important. I want to turn the film on and see a team that knows their head coach, and we play with edge, and we're playing hard and physical, and all those things are important to me. But at the end of the day, to get that, if everything goes through me, if everybody's a little mini version of me, the program will only be as good as I am good. And I don't want that. I want people to bring their personalities. I want them to bring their creative energy. And it's BU aligned with us now. I mean, there's certain standards and expectations. If Diego's out in the world talking shit and not showing up on time, I got a problem with that. Right. I mean, so there's, and obviously that's not the case, but as an
Right.
example of,
Yeah.
the things that we matter, the mission's winning. So anything that impacts winning, I want it done at the highest possible level. I want you to bring your personality. I want you to bring your creative energy. I want you to feel ownership stake in this as a co-creator. And in that way, we amplify Vanderbilt football. And that way, it's the collective spirit that makes us dangerous. And so, to the long-winded way to answer your question, I think it's not that he's challenged me. I've learned a lot about the balance of giving this program room to breathe. And as I've gained trust in the team through our process, I've allowed for it to breathe a little more. And I think that's a healthy balance. Obviously, I mean, I challenge these guys every week, and there's certain things, again, that we're they're boundaries here. We have very specific things that we ask of our guys, but as long as we're within those boundaries, like, I want them to feel like they bring their personalities, and that's what makes us unique.